how it's going to all fit.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And I was thinking about it last night too. Like, obviously so much focus on Marner leaving and what it's going to do because he's been so consistent for so long and 9 years where he's always healthy and he always puts up numbers and he can play with everyone. It's going to be a big adjustment. But Matthews is still here. And, I think we're kind of looking past his ability and the pressure that should be on him and the expectation that should be on him. And I think in large part because of the season he had last year, the worst season of his career, injury-riddled, never looked like himself. But if that guy is back to where he's supposed to be, then whoever he plays with, he should drive the line. Like, it should be a great line. You put him and Matthew Nyes together, yes, it can't just be a plug on the right wing, clearly. But put anybody there who's capable of keeping up, he should be able to drive a line that's capable of being a true number one line in the league that produces and dominates just because of who he is and what he's capable of doing.
I agree with that. My question is, like, what effect does it have on him not to play with Marner? And who does he play with? Like, who is that other guy?
Well, Nyes is the guy he played with every game last
for sure. But Marner is in his own class, obviously. Like,
yeah,
Struddy, like, you see it all the time in Edmonton. Like, Draisaitl and McDavid, they kind of just play with everyone. And,
exactly.
Like, they make it work. And we've seen it before with Matthews. It was a long time ago. Remember, like, Hayes, like, the days he's playing with, like, Marlowe and Kapanen and Janssen and, like...
It won't be easier. I'm just saying I'm not letting him off the hook. Just if he has a down year, Marner left. No. You're 28. You're in your prime. You've won a Hart. You're the best player.
For sure.
You better be ready to cook here. Like, let's get going this season. I have high expectations, and I think he'll meet them. Here's our good buddy, Mark Masters. How you doing, Mark?
Very good, guys. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, good to be on with you. What do you make of kind of the Leafs transactions over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a weird offseason. You see Mitch Marner leave, obviously huge hole, and it's just the way they've been doing it. Actually, I think some pretty good bets. A guy like Matias Michelli. We just see Dakota Joshua coming in here, Nicholas Waugh, and it feels like, they're building a better bottom six here. But obviously without the ability to replace Marner, which of course he can't really, unless there's just not many options out there. So it's been interesting, but I liked a lot of what they've done at the bottom of the lineup, and I'm sure there's still moves to be made before we get to game one of the season, but kind of a bit of a weird offseason, I guess, so far for the Leafs.
What would you make that third line look like if you could run the team?
I don't know. I'm certainly intrigued by the possibility of Nicholas Waugh and Dakota Joshua together, the size they would have, the ability to play physically and to kind of soak up. You know what, you guys are talking coming in about how, Austin Matthews, what kind of season he's going to have, who he's going to play with. And with the way the lineup's coming together, maybe, he won't be needed to be relied upon to play quite as many defensive zone starts and kind of matchup roles. Certainly, they're going to lean on him a lot for those top-line matchups, but maybe you can free him up a little bit more if you have a responsible line led by Nicholas Waugh and even a Scott Laughton maybe led fourth line that can soak up some defensive zone starts, and you can create more opportunities for a Nyes, Matthews, and whoever, maybe it's Domi over there, line to really do some damage offensively. So I think that there's going to be a bit more, maybe you'll lose the high-end skills of Marner, but maybe a bit more flexibility to make the whole lineup a little bit more effective.
Yeah, that's going to be the question. Like, again, we're focusing so much on depth players, and they're important. But, what we just stumbled across is ultimately what's going to determine what happens here, Mark. And you've been around Matthews his whole career. How do you expect him to handle the absence of Marner?
I think he'll handle it fine. I mean, the big question is health. He says he's going to be healthy, right? That's what he said on the locker cleanout day, assuming he's back to being the guy who's a, Hart Trophy candidate, 60-plus goal scorer. I expect him to be fine playing with Matthew Nyes, whoever's over there, as you said. If anything, I imagine he'll be emboldened, to take even more ownership. He got to see last summer. Now Mitch Marner's gone. I mean, just kind of take control, do your thing. I expect him to come back with a vengeance next season and just be even more motivated to do his thing. He's the best goal scorer that we've seen in this generation. So huge expectations for him next season. I imagine he's going to meet him.
Mark, if Craig Berube called you up this summer, and maybe he has already, could happen, or he texted you, and he said, who do you think I should play on that right side with Matthews? Because you and I both know he didn't like, and maybe hate is too strong, but he was pretty much against playing Nylander with Matthews really like the entire year, even in the playoffs when Marner Matthews wasn't really working. So if he called you and he said, who should I play there? Who is it?
I'd put Domi there. You know that he and Matthews work well. And I'm sure there's some reluctance, right? The reason maybe Nylander didn't get a long look with Matthews or a longer look with Matthews is just the preference to play Matthews against top lines and in defensive situations, and maybe you don't want Nylander there. Maybe you don't want Domi there, of course. But there's no perfect answer to the question right now. There's no perfect player to slot in there. So I would go. Domi got off to, as we know, did not have a great year last year. I go to him and say, I'm putting you in a prominent spot. You played well with Matthews. You get this chance to start. Go to work. That's what I would do. You know, Matthews and Knies have good chemistry. You know, Domi and Matthews have played well in the past. And then, Tavares and Nylander, you should have another effective line there, and then you build out from there, and you hope you have a good kind of shutdown third line that you can, entrust to the defensive matchups, and that's what I would do. That's at least how I would start. And obviously things are going to bounce around, but you've got to get more out of Domi during the regular season next year, and I think that's a great way to do it as well.
Masters, I've been screaming all the way from Edmonton that the Leafs need to get a puck-moving D. They don't have enough of it, or they have maybe one. These guys aren't exactly biting. Jonas is nodding his head now, like, yeah, I'm with you, Strutty. But what do you say, Masters? Are you happy with what they have there, or do they need the guy I gave an example to is Shane Gothenspier? Not saying they can get him or he's the perfect guy, but quick puck-moving, get it up to this group of forwards.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Treliving acknowledged that in his postmortem of the season, is that they'd like a little bit more of that element on the back end. It's just everyone's kind of locked in on the defensive side, and they focus so much on trying to fill some holes up front that it's kind of been a forgotten thing. Like, everyone's locked in there. A lot of questions about Morgan Riley. He's obviously got the no-move clause. Maybe he gets a bounce back. I suspect he'll be back on the top power play unit with Marner moving on as the quarterback. We'll see. Obviously, he's been there in the past. Maybe you can, with 1 year under his belt with Craig Berube's system, he'll be a bit more comfortable and can just, be more of himself. It's a question mark for sure, but they have lacked that, and it doesn't look like there's an easy answer to that question either. But I would agree that they could use that. It certainly was evident that it was lacking. That said, I still think they have the pieces to make a really good defense core, and maybe that's something that they have to address during the season at some point here, see how things play out. Same as with the top six forward that they need. It might take some time for all the pieces to go into place. I like that Treliving's been patient here and seems to be willing to be patient, not rush into anything, not make a mistake, and just wait for the right piece to kind of become clear, or the right option to become clear.
With Mark Masters. So we were talking about the announcement earlier this week that Jeannie Bouchard is going to retire after the National Bank Open, which the women are in Montreal.